Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks, direct from the IFBC 2017 Costa Rica first inaugural international football betting conference, hosted by SBR and very generously sponsored by Bet Online, Intertops, and of course, UWager. Jimmy the Bag, how are you doing it so far? You're doing a great job hosting it, by the way.
Man, thank you so much,
awesome.
Pete. It's an honor, man, hanging out with all these experts and learning and asking questions.
It's a bit overwhelming at first, right?
I don't know, it's just extremely exciting. Right, I mean, you get a little tongue-tied with some of the guys, but it's just an honor being around these great cappers.
Absolutely. Well, we are going to continue giving our official picks here. Jimmy the Bag, is it okay if I bring up what happened to you yesterday?
Of course, because
you had a couple losers, right?
It's not prostitute related.
No, so, it's sports betting related. You took a couple of hits, right?
I did. I had a bunch of wins. I just lost my first game and my last game, which hurt.
But you parlayed them all, didn't you?
Well, you did.
Yeah.
I did. I won 4 in the middle. I did cash $300 at the poker game, and I invested half of that on Bartolo Colon.
Awesome.
So,
nice call there.
Turn 300 into an extra 150 to 450 American, which will help my final numbers. But the Bumgarner game was extremely disappointing.
Yes,
that anemic San Francisco Giant offense. I just can't fuck it. Like it was probably 3 of the worst hours I've spent watching baseball in my life. Just their only run was on a fucking loaded bases walk. Oh, what a bunch of
you gotta be very careful taking bad teams with awesome starting pitchers as huge favorites. That's a very sometimes it can be worth it. You gotta be very, very careful of that. I understand why it's tempting. You look at some tomato can on the other side and you think you're getting a great starting pitcher, not that huge of a favorite line, so you take it. But in those situations, it's more often than not it winds up being the better team with a crappy starting pitcher as a big underdog that winds up being the value bet.
And that's what happened last night, man.
Yeah.
Difficult.
All right. Well, the good news is we both nailed the Bartolo Colon day because one of my picks was fading Bartolo Colon on the first 5 innings team total over, and that one cashed again. Another Bartolo Colon day casher for anyone who faded him on the first 5 innings team total over. But you and a bunch of other people that I talked to actually were on Minnesota, and that one cashed easily.
Easily, yeah. Man, every time you count out the jolly old fat man, he steps up, I want Bartolo to know that if he wants a third family, he's always welcome at the Bag household.
Yes, so your basic analysis of that game was, I think, very accurate, and I agreed with you, which was that Perez and Colon were basically a wash starting pitcher-wise. So, I was looking to fade Colon, but only a little bit less looking to fade Perez as well.
Yeah, Perez looks awful. Whatever the laceration that he received is really affecting his pitching. He's a simple, easy fade every 5 days for the next rest of the season.
All right. Well, Jimmy the Bag, we've got a bunch of other picks that we're going to give today, and we're going to break down every game. We've got a bunch of picks. I'm feeling pretty good. Let's just talk for just a couple minutes about this the conference that we're at right now, sponsored by UWager. Look at this hat. I think this hat looks pretty snazzy on me. Don't you think?
Sharp.
I mean, I like this hat here. Sponsored by UWager.eu for all your sports betting, your important sports betting needs. Okay, Jimmy the Bag. Let's get into today's card for MLB. Hold on, let me just quickly Jimmy the Bag. Bolsa Jim. Bolsa him. That's what they would call you if you moved down here.
Sounds good to me, man.
Bolsa Jim. New gringo in town. Gringo Nuevo en la ciudad. All right, so a bunch of interesting situations today. First of all, we have yet another auto fade guy, but I don't know if we're going to take him today. It's James Shields. Boston on the other side is all the way up to -290. SIA has him at -350. They're not effing around. They're like, if you're going to take Boston here, you're going to eat a ton of juice. I guess you could take a shot with the White Sox team. With the Boston team total over. The first 5 innings would be 3.5. I mean, Shields is bad, but I don't know if he's quite that bad. I think I might stay this one.
I'm gonna stay. I'm definitely gonna stay off the first 5. I just can't trust the Red Sox offense. Even though they look better for 5 games before last game, they're just not a trustworthy bunch. I think Drew Pomeranz is you can have a lot of confidence with him. He's won 4 straight decisions. Has not lost in 9 starts. Hasn't lost since June 11th. He's 3-0 with a 2.73 ERA in July, 6-2 with a 3.64 ERA in 11 Fenway starts. But the numbers don't create a situation where you can make a lot of money.
Yes, excellent research there, both Jim. We have kind of a Bert and Ernie thing going on.
I'm not this much smaller than Pete, man. I'm not. I shouldn't be.
Maybe we can come up with a sports betting pun for Bert and Ernie and call that what this show is. I think it's kind of a cool look there. All right, so I'll tell you what I bet. Now here's the thing, both Jim. I bet a bunch of totals on the overnight lines. I liked them all, and they've all moved in my favor,
Perfect.
which is nice for my bets. But as far as this show is concerned, it's a little bit, I don't know if I want to give them at a half run worse than I took. I took the Miami Atlanta game under 9.5. That's now 9. I took Cincinnati St. Louis under 9. That's now 8.5. I took Arizona San Francisco under 8.5. That's still at 8.5. That's a little bit iffy there. And then I took Toronto Houston over 8.5. That's still at 8.5. I took the Yankees and Cleveland game under 9. That's now at 8.5. And I took the Milwaukee Tampa Bay game. That was my favorite bet at under 9. That's now at 8.5 as well. I don't know what I should do. I could give all those picks anyway, and probably it'll come out okay if the bet's actually all cash for me at my original lines. But these half runs at baseball totals mean a lot long term. You know what I mean, Jimmy?
I do, and yeah.
Are any of those games that I brought up games that you feel like you have a pick on?
Yeah, they are a bunch of them. I always want to tread carefully when I like so many games, and this is a strange day where I like so many games.
Really?
It's I'm overwhelmed. I'd much rather be able to streamline 3 or 4 games, but there's so many I like, and I can start kind of running through them right now.
It's like a Tinder of sports betting we got in front of us, right?
It is.
So many to choose from.
It's like we're at the Hotel
Where
Del
do
Rey.
I start with? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's hit us with your favorite one, or the first one that comes to mind.
Well, I'll just start kind of running through them. I think the Nationals at Cubs, I know it got me yesterday, but when there's Edwin Jackson versus John Lackey, you have a 33-year-old versus a 38-year-old, and which of these two guys do you trust? And I would take Lackey over Jackson any day, especially the way he's been pitching lately. He's allowed he had a good start last 8th quality start of the year with 2 runs, 9 hits over 6 innings. There's a reason why Madden kept him in the rotation when he was scuffling. He's a heart and soul guy. He's passionate on the mound.
Lackey?
Yeah.
Edwin Jackson's passionate. Is he not passionate?
Passionate? You know what? Jackson played on 12 different teams in his major league career. If he was a passionate heart and soul guy, he wouldn't have played on a dozen teams as a 33-year-old.
Good point there, Jim. All right, well, I completely agree with your analysis that I trust Lackey more than Jackson. But just like yesterday, we're not getting 110 with the Cubs here. If you want to take the Cubs, the books are going to make you pay. That's what they do so well. You're going to have to lay -160 in the -160s. And I'll tell you what, Jim, if it was Cubs -110, I completely would agree with you. I'd take the Cubs here big time, but at -160s, and the -160s for me, it would be Washington or nothing. I'm going to pass on it, but it's Washington or nothing.
I understand your thought process. That makes perfect sense to me.
So you're not going to give official pick on that game?
I'm not going to give an official pick on that game, but if I decide to hammer it, I will tweet that out.
Right.
The next game, I mean, it's again.
Well, let me just quickly talk one thing about that game. One way I was looking to bet that one was on the first 5 innings over, which is 5.5, basically fading both of them. One of these guys might get crushed and give up, 5 or 6 on his own, and if not easily, both of them could give up 3, something like that. 5.5 is a little bit up there, but that's what I'm thinking about. The total, of course, just came out for that game, so that might be an official pick. But that's what I was thinking about that game. So there is a way to fade those kinds of guys. You can take a total or a team. Maybe you should think about taking totals or team total overs more than you do.
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
I feel you. I would not be comfortable with this game. The Cubs offense is not something you can count on right now.
Yes, that's true.
Addison Russell just went on the DL, so Baez will be playing shortstop. I just can't. I think Lackey is going to pitch well. If it's anything like his last 3 starts,
you do think so?
I do think Lackey will pitch well.
He's been better recently, but
I'm gonna not take the over in that game. There are some games where I do like.
All right, hit us with another one, both, Jim.
Well, when we go to. I really like a couple
that
games.
That scrambled his brain right there. Couple of Bosa Jim. He's like, where am I? Who am I? Let me get my bearings again. Yes. Bosa Jim. That's got a nice ring to it. What do you like, Jim?
Well, if you want to, there's a lot of favorites that look really good, but if you want to find a live dog.
We want to find a bet that you think has value. That's what we want.
Okay, I think that the Blue Jays on the road have a lot of value. I watched Estrada's last start, and it was very good. He's not a pitcher. What are his numbers this year? 4-7, 5.19 ERA. 1.44 whip. He is better than that, and you're getting a giant number in Houston right now. I know that Houston put up a huge amount of runs yesterday, but we were calling that out with Cesar Valdez, the journeyman. I was sure he was going to get.
Oh, you called it. I had the under on that one. Great call, Jim.
Thanks, pal.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good capping. Valdez is a journeyman. Oh, jeez.
Whoa.
Okay. Wow. Little hungover for that, fellas.
Yeah. Hey, come on. We're doing professional grade video, media content over here, for Christ's sake.
There's a lot on this sport.
But yeah, I just think that's a very live dog. Very live dog. His ERA in June and July was 8.87, and then last start he looked really good. I know it was against the anemic White Sox offense, but I believe in Estrada. And I know that Morton is playing well, but I think that's a live spot right there.
That's an interesting analysis there, Jim. And I would tend to agree with you. The big question mark here is Estrada, because you're right. He's off of an excellent start, but for a long time he was having some serious control issues. He was almost an auto fade for me. One excellent start. What do we make of that? Do we think that he's going to now go on a run of excellence, or he's going to revert back to his old form? My sense is that he reverts back to his old form, but I agree with you that the line is just too high. If I were going to bet the side, I don't think I'm going to touch it, but I would definitely, it would be Toronto or nothing. Again, though, I'm liking the over 8.5 in this one, thinking that both Estrada and Morton be a little bit more vulnerable than their year-long numbers would suggest.
I'm away from that. I think that Estrada staying in Toronto and not being dealt at the deadline was a relief. He pitched that day, the deadline day, knowing he was going to stay in Toronto. No.
Hey, come on! We are professional grade content providers over here.
We get the lights off, man.
All right. Maybe we're not. Maybe we don't command that respect that an ESPN guy might command sitting in these seats. All right. Let's see.
The lights are being run by the girls of the Hotel Del Rey.
Yeah.
And so they like a lot of brightness, and they don't want you to see their faces either. So it's okay. But yeah. So
we get no respect as content providers as of right now. Revisit us in a year, and we'll see how much respect Jim and I are commanding.
Oh yeah.
Right. All right. Okay, Jim.
I just think that Estrada, knowing that he's staying in Toronto, I think he's going to finish the season strong. If you're going to get giant numbers on Estrada for the rest of the year, I say take him. If you take him every 5 days, you will make money over the rest of the season.
That is quite an astute observation here, and if that turns out to be accurate, I will be extremely impressed, because I sort of had Estrada pegged as likely to revert back to his old form going forward. But you might be right that there might be something psychological there involved here. His last start was a little bit of a head scratcher to me, and again, I'm sort of treading lightly. And if you wind up being accurate with your call on Estrada there, I will be extremely impressed, Jim.
Thank you.
What else you got for us?
I really like. I think there's locks, and I know that they're big, but I really like John Gray and the Rockies at home. I think that's a lock, an absolute lock. Their pitchers, so with Pivetta has got a 6.70 ERA on the road.
Yes.
Compared to 3.89 at home. So he's getting lit up. Pivetta's a Canadian boy. He's getting lit up on the road. And then you have Gray, who pitches so much better at home.
Yes.
He's 2-0 at home with 3.71 ERA. So in the last game, in Gray's last game, in 6 of the 7 innings, he didn't allow a hit. So he gets lit up for 1 inning. I think Gray's going to step up. I think that's just a lock. It's so much of a lock that I would even take -1.5.
You're right. Yes, Pivetta has some nice upside, but he is terrible on the road. And this is, for a guy like that going into Coors, this is just a very, very, very treacherous, precarious situation for him. And Gray looks excellent. Philly in general as a team has been terrible on the road this year, and particularly right now on this West Coast trip, they just look like they're stalled out. They're going to lose every game, and then get it together again, when they come back home at some point. But as of right now, I tend to agree with you. It is a high line here. Yeah. There's a high line here. You're laying in the -190s, but I'm one of these people. I'm not one of these people who says never take a -190 MLB favorite. I do say I think twice about it, but I definitely have done it. I definitely do it. I would definitely be leaning Colorado here. Absolutely agreeing with you that I would take him if I was going to take him on the -1 line. I'm not sure I'm going to play this right now. As of right now, I did not bet it on. I made a ton of bets on the overnight. I did not touch this one yet. but I, in general, agree with your analysis, Jim, and I like it. Do you want to make that one? Because I like to make these shows when we give our opinions, make it like a bet.
That's a lock.
That's an official pick.
That's an official pick, and I'm going to hammer that to a bunch of different games.
Okay, and I'll just let me quickly tell you what the -1.5 line here would be. We do shop around, of course. You can line shop, of course. +105 would be the best line that you can get at a bunch of places. All right,
I think that's a nice number.
Very nice, very nice. All right, what else do you have, Jim?
Well, I mean, I think that the Dodgers are a lock today. Rich Hill, pitcher of the month in July, 4-0, 1.45 ERA and 5 starts. He's pitching so well. Now, I know Seth Lugo is better than he looked in Seattle 5 days ago. He allowed 5 runs in his first 2 innings, and then he showed a lot of heart getting through 5. I think the number is not very good.
No, it certainly is not, Jim.
But I just think that Rich Hill is pitching out of this world right now, and it's some action that I will use in some parlays.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. On the overnight line, it was a dangerous number in like the -170s, -180s. It's gotten a lot worse since then, which kind of backs up your analysis. But it's now over -200. And I'll tell you what, Jim. Hill, yes, has been great, excellent, an old arm though. But Lugo is not. Lugo is a guy who sometimes gets crushed, but sometimes is quite fine. And if this is one of these days where Lugo is quite fine, how are you going to be feeling in the 6th inning when you've got money on the Dodgers at -210 or whatever you wound up taking, Jim?
I just think the Mets are so weak.
I hear you, Jim.
But you're absolutely right. There's not enough value in that action, and it makes sense exactly what you're saying.
On the other hand, the Dodgers have won like 42 out of their last 49, something ridiculous, and you have Hill, who's been lights out at least for the last 4 or 5 games. So you might be right. Again, this is another game that I absolutely did not touch, and I'm almost sure I'm not going to. If you wanted to insist that there's value on the Dodgers, I'll tell you, it makes me very nervous. And I think you're probably going to have some health issues during the game, right?
I find so much confidence in Rich Hill. I hear what you're saying. I mean, there's all these favorites today that look so good. I mean, I think the Indians are going to take out the Yankees.
Did you want to make the Dodgers official pick or not? What are you going to do?
I'm going to tie the Dodgers into some parlays, but they won't be in all of them because the value is just not there. But I will definitely be tying them with the Rockies and doing some things with the Dodgers.
Okay, let me maybe I can interest you in a small favorite that I'm liking. I definitely bet this one, and it was a game that had some really weird movement, and it is KC at home against Felix Hernandez and Seattle. Now this line, it opened very low, and I liked KC, and I didn't understand at all why the line was so low, and then it got bet significantly down. And it went all the way down to where Casey was like -106. That's where I wound up taking him. I was like, all right, this line is so low, I'm going to have to take it. And now it has since jumped way up. It's now up into the -120s, -130s. SIA has -140. There's some injury issues here. Nelson Cruz was banged up instead. Of course, he's their biggest home run hitter for Seattle. He, I believe, is going to be out, and that is probably why this line jumped. He was questionable yesterday, and I bet you anything that line jumped on that news. Also, though, for Kansas City, their big home run hitting catcher, Perez, he also got banged up. He might be out too, but Duffy's pitching very well. Hernandez is, as we know, several notches below his peak, form from when he was in his prime. Exactly where do we rate him right now? I would rate him as, about average to a maybe slightly subpar starting pitcher. So he is going to give you a good start once in a while, sometimes.
It definitely Hernandez's the shoulder inflammation that he had has clearly affected him as well. He does not look very good. Right. I think the big fear I have in this game is the 80% chance of rain.
Yes, that's the other problem, is that the game's probably going to get rained out. But I did make a bet on that one, and I will give that one as one official pick here. KC -1. I like to do -1 bets, and that's where you combine the run line and the money line. So the money line part of that would be -126. The run line part of that would be plus 170, and that's my first official pick. You're right, though. I did check the weather report. It is probably going to get rained out. But if it goes off, I'm liking KC -1, Jay.
I agree totally. Duffy's looked so good. Since Duffy got back from the DL, lefties are hitting 1 for 25 against them.
Yeah, and Casey has slumped out a little bit recently, but, I think that's a little bit of just a speed bump, and we saw them. They're one of the most profitable teams in baseball in July, and I think just, at least in this game, they're a good bet. All right, is there anything else you like, Jim?
Yeah, there is. I think that I tried to study Chris Stratton, the pitcher for the Giants today. As I bet on Arizona today. Stratton has a right calf muscle injury. He hasn't faced live batters in 10 days. Now, Bruce Bochy isn't concerned. Why should he? Their team is 42-69.
Right.
Who cares?
Who cares? Exactly.
I looked up his numbers in AAA Sacramento. They're weak. He went 4-5 with a 5.11 ERA and a 1.46 WHIP. If this was a 35-year-old, if this was Lackey who hadn't faced 10 live batters in 10 days, I would say that's great, man. And Belt took a ball in the head. He's out, and this Giants offense is just looking worse and worse and worse. I think it's really safe action taking the Diamondbacks today.
Jim, the research just blazing out of you today, exploding out of your mouth. The Yankees have been so good, so I think they're probably going to win here. No, that is not what you did last night. You went on FanGraphs, you went on SBRodds.com. You did all your research last night.
They got my whole life I can hit hook with, man. I got my whole life ahead of me, man. But today I get to do Odd Couple with Pete Loshak. I'm gonna do the fucking work.
So you're going to take Arizona as an official pick?
I'm gonna take Arizona.
Well, that's an interesting game. That is a game that I bet. And I'll tell you what I did. You're right. Stratton is a big question mark because he has had some nice results in the majors. I mean, he hasn't been and nice 4 or 5 inning appearances. And Taijuan Walker is also a little bit of a question mark here. He can have an unexpectedly bad start. So what I'm doing, sometimes I do like to make second half bets before the game. You know, you can do that in baseball and a lot of books. And so I'm going to play it safe here. I think Arizona has a huge edge in terms of their lineup, obviously, and even their bullpen over the Giants. So I'm going to take Arizona second half minus 145. It's a little bit of a steep line, but if Stratton is good, I think he's only going to go 5 innings. If Walker is bad, he'll be out after 5 innings. And I think the second half is where Arizona really has the edge here. I'm going to take Arizona as another official pick. Second half minus 145. And if you want Arizona on the full game, you want them on the run. I'm sorry, on the money line minus 126.
Yeah, I would take the money line. I think you get a lot of value with that number minus 126 with the Diamondbacks. I think that's a great selection today, and I'm going to be using that on a lot of parlays. And I'm very excited about it.
Okay. Be a little careful with those parlays, We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it.
It's a wild ride, man.
All right.
It's a wild ride.
Okay, there's one other game that is interesting only because it might be a low-hanging fruit-ish. And it's one of the games that didn't have it's the only game that didn't have an overnight line, and that is Detroit against Baltimore. Now, Detroit is kind of like the White Sox light. They liquidated a bunch of their stars. They traded away Martinez, obviously their closer. They're having this guy, Verhagen, come up from the minors, and he is not one of these phenoms who was just blazing in Double-A. Now he's coming up to the minors. He was struggling in the minors.
He was AAA Toledo, 7-7 with a 4.90 ERA, 1.55 WHIP.
Look at that.
He walked four walks per 9.
Yes.
And only 6.4 Ks per 9. Wow. When you're doing that in AAA, I don't see how the Tigers could have confidence in
Jim with the digits. My note is just he kind of sucks in the minors. you got the digit. You got the specifics there, Jim. Yeah. So basically, we're in agreement here. So the only issue is that you got Wade Miley on the other side, but I'm thinking that Baltimore might just come in and blast this guy Verhagen and take him, maybe taking Baltimore on the team total over or the first 5 innings team total over. What do you think?
I like the over. I like the over in this game with both. Miley has not logged a quality start since June 1st. He's 3-6 with a 9.06 ERA since then. He has a 7.36 career ERA against the Tigers. And then listen, Verhagen is 2 relief appearances versus Baltimore with a 20.25 ERA. I think there's going to be a lot of offense in this game.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. I'm just going to play it a little bit. Yeah, Miley's a little bit but his last start was actually a little bit better, and he's getting a lot of hard contact, a lot of bad signs from him, but he's getting a decent amount of ground balls, so I'm gonna play it very safe here. The line actually isn't out yet, but I will make it an official pick. The Baltimore first 5 innings team total over, which I believe will just probably be 3, but that'll be okay with me.
I like that. I like that bet. I didn't have this bet planned until we broke it down right now. I am going to make an official pick with the over in the Tigers versus Orioles game today.
A little high there. It is 11. little high there. So if Miley has a good start, his last start was a little bit better, similar to Estrada's last start.
I think the Tigers' offense is undervalued. I think that people are not giving it enough respect just because they got rid of J.D. Martinez. They still have a very strong offense. I know Cabrera is playing poorly, really bad. Now, his July was one of the worst months, I think, of his career. But I still think there's a lot of offense there. We know how the ball flies out of Camden Yards.
It can, yes. Not always, though. It can, though. Yes, for sure, for sure.
I like the over in this game. Now, I don't know how many bets I'm going to link it to today.
How about just all of them?
No, I'm not.
Okay, all right,
not,
okay.
no.
That was just a suggestion. Don't take every suggestion that I all right, okay. All right, I think we can maybe wrap this show up, but we got to summarize it. And Jim, I gave a lot of leads, and as I told you in the beginning, you know, I had left like 4 or 5 totals plays that I really liked a lot on the overnight lines. They all, except with the exception of the Houston game, moved a half run. Against me. So I'm not sure if I want to put because you know the official record. If you put your official record out there, no one's going to look back and say like, oh, well, you know, you got a better line and a half, or they just see the W or the L. And if you're you got to be really careful about what you actually give as an official pick. But what have you given so far officially? You gave you like Colorado.
I like Colorado
-1.5.
My favorite plays with the most value are Colorado and Arizona.
Right. So you've given Colorado -1.5, Arizona on the money line, the over in that Baltimore game, and was that it?
Well, I've got to decide what to do with some of these favorites, and those will be my official picks.
Right.
Just because there's not enough value with the Cubs and the Dodgers. I really like the Indians today, but there's not that much value. What Salazar has done since coming off the DL is
awesome.
excellent.
Awesome.
Yankees have lost 4 straight. Their offense is producing nothing.
Yes.
I think so. What is the Indians line right now?
That's another one that I bet on the under. I took 9, and it's now 8.5. Salazar's also coming off of a little bit of extra rest. Now I think that Salazar at some point his shoulder soreness is going to come back, and when that happens, he's going to be an auto fade. But until that happens, he's going to be great, and I expect him to be good again tonight.
In his last start, he generated 23 swings and misses.
Yes.
The only Indian pitcher to record more in a game this year was Corey Kluber on June 1st.
Oh no, yeah. When Salazar's on, his stuff is sick.
Yeah,
it's sick, Jim.
It's electric.
Yeah. So I took the under. I took it at 9. It's now down to 8.5. I also took Cleveland a little bit, and I got that one. That line hasn't moved much at all. Actually, you can get it at some plus money there. I agree with you. I like Cleveland, and I don't know what I'm going to do about that one. I bet it. I bet Cleveland -1 on the overnight, and I bet the under 9. So the picks that I've given so far officially are Arizona on the second half. I have given KC -1, and I also gave Baltimore first 5 innings team total over. And then to recap all the totals plays that I bet that have moved against me, I took the under 9.5 in Miami and Atlanta. That's down to 9. Fultonavich, of course, had a bad start. His last start against Philly. Before that, though, he's been having a very good year in general. And Straley had a little bit of a speed bump, but his last start was better. So I took 9.5 on the under. It's now down to 9. I took the under 9 in St. Louis, Cincinnati. That's now down to 8.5. Castillo is a young guy with some really great stuff. Guy who gets this is a rare combination here, Jim. He gets a lot of strikeouts and a lot of ground balls, and that is rare. And when he has control issues, when he gets them under control, he will be an elite starting pitcher if that happens.
I agree. He's a future ace. Also, Lance Lynn is pitching so well, and I did not expect him to have this kind of a season. In July, he had a 1.47 ERA. He's allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in 16 of his 23 starts. 6th in the NL with a 3.20 ERA. 5th in the NL with an opponent's batting average of 210. He just looks very, very strong.
Very awesome. Yes. And the other bets that I made, I took the under 9 in Milwaukee, Tampa Bay, and that's now down to 8.5. And that's an interesting one because Zach Davies, a guy who has much better record on the road than at home. And now he's going into Tampa Bay. The late game yesterday went way under. And then Cobb is a great starter who came off of a bad start. And actually, I have to give that guy, Tomarino Tomar, a very prominent commenter, predicted that Cobb was going to have a bad start against Houston last game, and that did happen. Before that, though, Cobb was doing very well, almost lights out, and I expect him to bounce back here as well against Milwaukee, who's definitely slumping. So I like the under 9 at 8.5. It's a lot dicier, but I definitely like the under.
I'm afraid of this game, but shout out to Tomarino. He's a good capper, and like having him involved with us.
For sure.
This is a dangerous game. Clearly Cobb was rolling, you know, and he got lit up. He allowed 8 earned runs in 3 innings, 1 short of his career high. He did not strike out a batter in that game. leading up to that outing, he was 5-1 with a 2.24 ERA in his last 9 starts. He's very good at home, 5-3 with a 2.59 ERA. Zach Davies throws so soft. I mean,
yes. Although his strikeout numbers recently have gone up a bit.
Surprisingly,
so, yes.
He's got 3 quality starts in a row. He's pitching well, man. 5-1 with a 2.74 ERA in the last 7 starts. Brewers' offense is slumping.
Yes.
And actually, it's so funny. Davies gets the highest run support in the league at 7.3 runs per 9.
Yeah, so that's a little bit. It's an interesting game, a little bit questionable. You know what? I'm just gonna keep it safe for now. It is Saturday. It's the IFBC. There's chaos all around. There's the sports betting heavyweights everywhere you turn. So I'm just gonna keep it safe. KC -1, Arizona second half, and the Baltimore first 5 innings team total over, which isn't out yet, but it should be probably 3. Might be 2.5, but more likely it'll be 3. And I'm just gonna keep it there, Jim. And the others, I'll just leave as leads.
I respect, man. I like your calls. I like them all.
I like this framing. Look at that. Look, we can see ourselves on the monitor. We look cool.
Feels right.
I think we look cool, Jim.
Feels right. It's going to be a big day here at IFBC.
All right. That wraps it up. And again, I will remind you about my UFC 114 picks, Jim. The over in the Pettis fight, over 2.5 at -160 is what I got. And also the Rashad Evans fight to go the distance at -155. Although there was a commenter on the video that I did with that one with Andreas Hale, who says that he thinks that Evans to get knocked out is a lock. And he said, book it, book it, book it. So I'm going to try to get him to elaborate and tell us why. But I think that one is a great bet to go the distance, 3 rounds at -155.
Yeah, I got a message from a MMA expert back in Canada. He loves Lomachenko.
Okay.
So that's his big call, and he's asked me to put a very sizable bet for him. One of the fun things when someone asks you to make a bet is you can either put it in or be the book.
Yes.
And we'll be talking
Tempting to be the book, Jim. That's a whole other issue, whole other topic that we can talk about in a different show. But as of right now, my 2 best bets are Evans to go the distance, the featured event Pettis over 2.5 at -160. I also do like Grasso to get the win at about -170, and I also like Nico Price. I previewed that one with Andreas Hale. You know this guy Andreas Hale covers MMA with SBR. Yeah, he's really good, and his thoughts on this fight were dead on in lockstep with my thoughts. I didn't understand why Price was such a big underdog, and ever since we talked about it, it's just gotten bet up a little bit. So now Price is +150. I don't understand it. I understand that Jovan is a former. What? Oh, really?
No.
Okay. We can wrap it up, but so that's interesting. Andreas, I did bet Price. That one might lose. I do like Grasso to win at -170, and but my 2 best bets: Evans to go the distance and Pettis over 2.5 rounds. All right, Jim. Great show once again. Thanks so much for being a guest in the IFBC. Shout out to everyone who made this possible. Of course, let's give a quick shout out to the people who work at SBR, put all this together. Matty Ice, Zach, Cynthia, everyone who put in a lot of work to make this happen. I think this is going to be a yearly event that will just get bigger and bigger and more awesome.
I hope so. It's been wonderful.
All right. We'll catch you guys. I'll catch you guys on Monday for the MLB Monday.
Oh, God. I might not. I think I'm taking the day off. I'll see y'all Tuesday.